Hello, and welcome back to the Collector's Corner, the podcast that demystifies art collecting with me, Antonia Piersanti. Today, I am in Paris with full-time collector Raphael Isvy. Raphael doesn't come from an art background or career, but since he was a kid, the act of collecting has been a really big part of his life. Be it trainers, Pokemon cards, video games, he really is a true collector in that sense. His art journey specifically began in 2016. It accelerated during COVID, and since 2022, he has been collecting art full-time. Raphael's journey as a fully self-taught collector is incredibly inspiring. I really can't thank him enough for sharing it in such an open and candid way. From the early days, finding artists on Instagram, to mentoring aspiring collectors today, Raphael truly walks the talk when it comes to helping more people enter and navigate the art world. In our conversation, we also discuss his learnings on the unspoken rules and expectations that outsiders or newcomers have no idea about. He also shares his honest views on how the art market operates. This discussion really was full of amazing insights. I really hope you enjoyed as much as I did. And as always, all the references and artist mentions are in the show notes. Hello, Raphael.
Hello.
Thank you for welcoming me today in your home.
My pleasure. It's a really big pleasure to have you home.
It's a beautiful flat you have. Thank you for the tour.
Thank you.
So we're in Paris, where you're from?
Yes, I was born and raised in Paris, always in the 16th. It's where I belong. I love the place. I love the Haussmann architecture around. So yeah, it was, for me, a must to be there.
Amazing. And you don't come from an art background. So you studied, I believe, mathematics?
Yes, correct. I come from a family of doctors, and my parents wanted me to do something that was kind of prestigious. So I studied mathematics and statistics at Dauphine University in Paris. And then I went into finance. I did all the jobs possible in this area. I did 3 years in asset management firms. I went to banks. I did some consultings. And also I sold softwares to banks and insurance in the regulatory area. And one day I woke up and I really wanted to change.
And that was in 2016, right?
That's correct. 2016 is the year where I started collecting, but I left everything and decided to fully focus on art in 2022.
Okay.
So when I left for collecting for art full-time, I already had a background of knowledge in art of many years before. I knew the ecosystem, I knew the people, the galleries, the dealers, the collectors and everyone, the fairs. And when I thought I was properly settled and in a good position to not be lost in this complex world, that's when I decided to quit this finance world and fully focus on art.
Okay, so 2016 you start getting interested, slowly start collecting, and then 2022 you quit.
Correct.
And full-time collector.
And between 2016 and 2022, a lot of stuff happened. I went from collecting posters and prints to big paintings in 22. COVID happened in between, where I really increased the pace of collecting. I traveled a lot all around the world to meet collectors for the fairs, and I'll get the chance to develop into that later, but the more people you know, the better.
So what was the spark? What triggered you to start collecting and then later just do it full time? Focused on art.
What was insane, I've always been a collector. I collect Pokemon cards, NFT, digital art, sneakers, watches, and owning stuff that has history behind is really cool, because when you have children, you get the chance to give them something that's more than an asset. That's a story, and that's, I think, the whole thing of legacy. So building a collection is a journey, and that journey is really insane and cannot be compared to anything else, because that journey is made of incredible stuff, good moments, bad moments, but all along that journey you meet people, you go to places, and that's really the most insane and interesting stuff that in life. The sparkle when was up. It happened when I received an artwork one day, and it was an original artwork, so one of one. And I was like, okay, there is only one of this in the world, and I own it, no matter the value, no matter what. The only artwork that's like that is mine, and getting something that's desired by others creates a feeling that cannot be duplicated.
Was that your first artwork?
I started with prints, but my first original artwork was a painting by Mike Lee, a small work on board. I remember when I did the wire, it was like 1,000 something. I was shaking, and I went into the logistics, like FedEx, and like following the tracking. And when it came home, I was like, should I put the white gloves? How do I open the box without destroying the painting? And then the hanging, should I put just a nail, or should it just be more? And I was like such an amateur. And I love, because that feeling evolved, but I still have the same goosebumps whenever a work arrive home and I have to open that box.
That's amazing. How did you find that work, the first one?
Back then, so I started with an incredibly low budget, really limited, because I was young, it was new to me, and every time you go into something new, you're really cautious. And then Instagram was really developing, and I think that my my biggest strength is my eyes, and I think I have a good eye to tell if that's great, exceptional, average, or bad. And like every job, like even nose in perfumes, sommelier in wine, the more you train, the better you are. So I was like, okay, I should see stuff and see stuff and see stuff and see stuff. So I was constantly looking at artists on Instagram and like sliding and moving up to one artist, from one artist to another, and discussing with people, what do you think of that one? Did you discover anyone this month? Can you send me? And then comparing the new emerging artists to previous artists, because I come from a background without any knowledge in culture. So dead artists were like museum stuff to me. I live in Paris. I have the chance to have the best museums in the city, but I wasn't very familiar to the movements and the masters. So I was trying to compare and understand what's new from this artist that the world has never seen. How does this one copy the technique of Matisse, or like where does he get inspired for his nature morte and stuff like that? So I was training by myself. Like if you're going into something new, you train by yourself and you find tools to get trained. And that was Instagram and people and internet and stuff like that. And then I found this gallery that was kind of hyped, launched by Ronnie Fig. That's someone super known in fashion. And he just opened a gallery in New York, and it was his first show. And I saw signs of great stuff plus excitement around the show. And I was like, okay, I need to pull the trigger.
So this was a gallery in New York, though, not in Paris.
No, in New York. I bought this work that was coming from the US.
Okay.
So yeah, and I said like, okay, this is the one. This is the first one. I need to pull the trigger, and then it was super smooth.
That's really cool.
I didn't thought of negotiating and stuff. I was so naive back then, but that's what I love.
I had no idea you can negotiate.
Yeah, everything is negotiable, especially in the art world.
It sounds like you trained your eye a lot with Instagram and
Correct.
online artist presence, as opposed to lots of galleries, lots of museums, or was it a mix?
The thing with the art world, especially in Europe and in France, is that galleries are not super welcoming. They are not shaped and made for newcomers and people who want to learn something about this world. They are really snobby. No price tag, no explanation, no card. Like you cannot even see the name of the artist. They don't explain you the technique. They just stare at you and just ask like, why are you here? Do you want to purchase? And if not, why are you here? So galleries in Paris are not super welcoming and not really the best tool to train yourself. Museums are amazing, but of course, these are museums, which means that you're looking at stuff that you will never get the chance to own. Artists are mostly dead, technique are old, paintings are old. So like there are no multiple options. And back then in 2016, the Parisian scene was really not what it's now. So we didn't have all those new, young, cool, fresh galleries that are more welcoming and focused on the new emerging artist scene. So it was super tricky. But yeah, it was mostly Instagram and mostly talking to people to train myself because I couldn't see those paintings in real life and physically. So it was mostly online. And honestly, that's how the art world is now. Like, I don't have the numbers, but I would say that more than 50% of the artworks purchased in the art world are done digitally, either auctions that are not locally with you or like PDFs that are going to be sent for a show that's not in your hometown or fairs that are going to happen at the other side of the world. So you have to understand what's great in PDF and it's going to be great in person because a lot of paintings are amazing in PDF and really disappointing in person. And also the opposite. Sometimes the PDF are like not giving justice to the beauty of the painting when you get to the chance to see it in person. So it's tricky.
Before you buy something off of a PDF, would you want to see at least one artwork by that artist in person?
It's better, but when you get into a frenzy, like it happened between 2019 and 2022, where if you wanted to buy an artwork, you had like a blink of an eye to purchase, like, which really literally means 5 seconds, because you couldn't get a hold on the paintings and you couldn't choose the painting. You get like a call and it was like, Raph, do you want this one? This one is available. You have 10 minutes to answer me because I have a line of 20 collectors to call behind because there is a lot of demand. You don't ask yourself if you want to see the painting in person. So yeah, I did a lot of 5 figures purchase without never seeing a painting of the artist. Sometimes I was disappointed. Sometimes I was like happily surprised. Sometimes it was the same.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this is insane.
And is that still the case? Or do you feel like that was a bubble moment?
It's not the case anymore. And it's better because now people are thinking about their purchase. They want to see the work. They want to understand more about the artist. They are like, okay, I love this artist, but I don't think this work is good enough or representative of the movement of the artist. So I want to find another one and I want to take the time that it's going to take to find a proper one, which to me is better because it's less money and asset oriented and more art focused, but it has pros and cons.
So it's more identifying an artist that resonates with you and then waiting for the right artwork.
Yes, but if I have to be honest, you're always more entitled to purchase when market is up and numbers are green than when everything bleeds and nothing becomes desirable because everything's available and everything's a pass at the auction. So sometimes I'm like, okay, I've wanted this artist for 4 years when it was crazy expensive and I couldn't get the chance to purchase it because it was either too expensive, either there was a crazy demand behind and like I couldn't be selected. Now it's both cheap and available. Why don't you want it? And I think it's a human bias. Like you always want to purchase when everyone wants it and you don't want it when no one wants it. But when you go deeper and you dig into the market and the numbers, if you do the opposite of the market, you're always going to win. Like people who sold the top when it was like a frenzy and the numbers were like really wrong and shouldn't have been there post-COVID and are buying now at crazy underpriced. Like I see works that are being sold at like 1/10 of what it's worth at the gallery.
Oh, wow.
And that's where you should buy if you want and love an artist. And that's what I did this year. I still purchased at least 4 works. It's really not the same pace than the years before, but I still purchased. And these were artists that were in my wish list that I couldn't get the chance to purchase. And I purchased them for even like I paid 10% of what I wanted to pay. Maybe I can have it in 1 year for 1%. That's the question. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe it's going to be worth 0 in 3 years. You never know. It's impossible to time it. That's why I would love to end this question with just no matter where the market is, just buy what you like and what you think you're going to be able to live with at least for 5 years. Because if you overpaid for something that you love, it's okay because you love it. And if you underpaid for something that you love that's worth 0 after, it's okay because you love it. When you don't love an artwork that much and you paid a lot, it's gonna, every time you're gonna wake up and see it with your morning coffee, it's gonna remind you that you made a major mistake and that you could have purchased like a Picasso with the same amount of money. And nowadays this is an unknown artist. If you love it, you don't care.
That's true.
You're like, okay, I live with it. It's pleasant to my eyes every day. Okay, fine.
You said several times you talk to a lot of people in the process of training your eye and just learning about movements, artists in general. There have been any majorly influential figures or people in your journey up until now?
Oh yes, definitely. I'm not even sure I could name them because like there are still 20 people that I talk on a weekly basis to debate about art, artists, markets, results, technique, mediums, everything.
How did you meet them?
Instagram.
Oh, wow.
Instagram, mostly Instagram and fairs and like friends of friends and but this is a small world. So we think it's a crazy big world, but it's always the same face you're going to see at the fairs. And it's always the same faces you're going to see in the auction houses and the same faces you're going to see Miami, White Cube Party. And it's a small world. And the more you grow your presence on Instagram and digitally, the more people are going to come and message you because it's a journey. And I was the guy that 6-7 years ago, I was the guy that was constantly messaging big collectors to ask them like, how did you find this one? What was the key moment for you to buy it? When did you told yourself that this was a good artist? And nowadays I receive these questions and I take the time to answer to those people because you transmit the virus of collecting. And when you post an artist that's going to be new, you're going to have some new people that are going to understand that, oh, Raph bought this artist, I should focus. Like, he did some great purchase back in the days. He has a good eye. Maybe I should look into that artist because if he purchased, maybe it's a good investment. So that's gonna be for the people who want to make money. And it's fair and I respect it because I was also in that position and I did some purchase also to make money. I'm going to be honest about it. Even if the art world is going to always be hypocrite about it, I'm super honest about it. And I don't hide the work I sell. I just try to do it the good way and the proper way. But yeah, I met most of the people at the fairs and at the shows and at the openings. But I can give you an example of what talking to people got me and grew me as a collector. You saw the Robert Nava painting in my office. I showed you this ghost. When I was first introduced Robert Nava on Instagram by a fellow friend collector that's Italian, that's called Francesca, I was like, no way. No way my girl could have done it in school. There is no way I'm spending 10K into that. And he insisted. And instead of like letting me go, he told me, look, you cannot deny signs. The guy is in New York. He's friend with all the influential New York people. He's in a great gallery. This is something fresh new that you've never seen. It's not like figurative classic paintings of a face. The fact that you told me your daughter could have done it is going to create a reaction. That's the purpose of art. So you should really take a second look. And I was like, okay, let's not be dumb and let's not be like close eyes and let's hear about what he says and let's dig into it. And I took some time, not too much, but took some time. A few months after, I was purchasing the painting without the biggest conviction, but I understood what he was explaining to me. And then he went insane about the artist and everyone wanted one and the artist signed to Pace and he did numbers close to 1 million for a painting that I paid 10K and I received crazy offer at that time for my ghost. People wanted to offer me 300K for the ghost and I always said no because now I have the conviction and still today it's maybe back to 80K, 70K. I couldn't care less. I live with it and I'm really happy that I purchased the painting because I think this artist created a movement and that in a few years he will be the one that started that movement because since then a lot of artists were copycat of his style. And that's my conviction. And if I'm wrong, it's okay. It's my money. It's my decisions. And that's the beauty of it. You do whatever you want with your collection.
That's an interesting one though, because you didn't like the painting at first, but talking to your friend who's more experienced, more seasoned collector convinced you?
Correct. And that's the beauty of art, because it's impossible when you begin a journey to know perfectly your taste and what you're going to love and what you're going to hate. When I look at some purchase I did in 2016, I'm like, Raph, how could you purchase that? How could you live with that? How could you put that on your walls? And in 10 years, I'm going to look at the baby me and I'm going to tell myself, how could you live with that in 2025? That's the thing. Taste evolve, and they are based on a ton of things. And I get influenced by a ton of things. It's going to depend who collects it, which museum has it, what's the journey of the artist, at which gallery is he dead or alive, what number is he making in the auction. It's a sum of things that make you happy about an artwork or not. And it's not just about I love it or not. For me, it's that. You have some people that just love it and like they don't listen to noise around. It's the painting and that's it. To me, it's more than that.
That's quite difficult, right, to drown out the noise.
It depends. It depends. Honestly, it depends on the journey, on the profile, on like, is it their job or not? Are they wealthy or not? Does it represent 1% or 10% of their whole wealth? You know what I mean?
Do you have a long-term vision for your collection then?
I thought I had one until it was bear market. And I think for a collector to perfectly envision his collection and his journey, you need to experience both. You need to experience the post-COVID frenzy and the actual crisis we are living at that moment. Because I really think that you need to live both bear market and bull market, because I'm going to be able to see in a few years some artists that everyone went insane about it and we thought that it could last for 20 years will maybe be forgotten. And I need to live those things to understand how to behave in the future. I did some purchase where I was convinced 100% that those artists would last decades. And I'm going to live the opposite. And there are some artists I'm going to see the opposite, and I'm going to see that they're going to zero and that they are going to be dropped by their galleries, that their price is going to be zero, that the works are going to be passed at auction and it will never bounce. When I talk to fellow collectors that are older than me and that lived the 2008 and 2012 crisis, they behaved better during the 2019-22 period because they knew that it was not normal and that it could go back to zero. And when you only experience up only, you cannot believe that it can go back to zero. Like, it's human. You don't want to believe that, so you don't believe it. I have friends who have purchased hundreds of paintings that were worth like 3 million, 4 million total. They didn't sell anything and their stock is...
You mean during that
period, they accumulated works that were valued totally for those amounts, and that now I don't think he could get ever like more than 100K or 200K for the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
I sold stuff, but I also repurchased stuff with the money I sold. So all in all, you can always tell yourself that if you sell something, you're going to be able to probably rebuy the kind of same thing later, but maybe 10 times the same painting. But for others, no. Some others are never going to go back to those small numbers and they're going to be in another blue chip category and they're never going to be like reachable again. So it's a mix of stuff and you have to be trained and experience those moments to behave better in the future.
And in terms of the artists that you want to collect or the direction you want to take for your collection, you mentioned, you want to leave a legacy for your daughters, for example. In 20 years, what would you like your collection to look like? Do you think about that sometimes?
Yeah. At the beginning, I was like, okay, maybe if I can... I always love to make things evolve. So I love to convert like 5 paintings into one other name that's going to be more blue chip, and then those 3 blue chip into one thing that's more blue chip. At the beginning, that was my objective. And then I changed my mind and I was like, those artists, I love them. I love those works. I want to live with them. So I cannot upgrade everything and trade everything. It's not like, it doesn't work like that because there is an emotional bias to that. And I love some works. For example, the Robin Francesca Williams work on paper, I don't think I'll ever part with it because it went into my 3 previous apartments. It was like one of my biggest purchases at the moment. I just love the works too much. Like sometimes I just stop and stare at it for like minutes with my coffee, and I love that moment, and I wouldn't like trade that moment for any kind of money. But it's also probable that in 20 years, 90% of that collection is worth 0, for example. So I cannot give you a precise answer because you have to do some mix. I also don't want to live with only blue chip painting. That's going to be dead artists for most of them. And that's because there will always be another collector that has better names, better paintings, and that's not the point. What I love to do is mixing. I want to mix emerging artists that are worth like practically nothing with blue chip dead artists, with established emerging artists. And that's what I love about the collection. It's like finding a proper harmony so they can live all together, but even if like they are not in the same price range or like career period. And that's what I love about it.
So that sounds like your collecting is very instinctive then, a reflection of your own personal story.
Yes, but it's also calculated nowadays because I know, for example, that there are still like 1 or 2 artists that I would love to add into some places of the apartment, because whenever now I try to collect, I don't think about adding stuff to the storage. I think about putting works up on the wall at blank point and blank spots that I have in the apartment. So for example, I showed you my entrance that was fully black and white. There are 3 black and white works, Tomoo Gokita, Ufan, Hugh Hayden, but there is still 1 spot missing, and my target for that spot is a Louise Nevelson sculpture on the wall. I take the time to find the proper one. Do I want an edition that's going to be low price? Do I want a one-on-one that's going to be more expensive? I don't know. And it's kind of a long-term objective that I have, and if it takes 1 year to get there, it's okay to me. But for example, the Brice Guilbert, it showed up at auction. I had like 3 days to decide if I wanted to bid. I've always wanted a Brice Guilbert, so I went like more instinctive about it. It depends.
Where do you most often buy your artworks then? I mean, you used to be online mainly, and how's that evolved?
Nowadays, it's more auctions because like the price are really like, except for 3, 5, 7 artists, it's always cheaper at auction than in primary.
Yeah.
So that's a problem because like Ufan was bought at auction this year. Brice Guilbert was bought at auction. The problem is that when most of the people buy at auction because it's cheaper, and that's like what's happening now, you don't support the ecosystem of the art world. You don't put money into the galleries that are not going to pay the artists.
Yeah.
So it's unhealthy to me, but that's the way it is. And that's why we're living such a crisis. But even the auction houses are not even getting to their costs. They had to increase their buyer premiums this month, and all the auction houses increased their buyer premiums because they have so many works that are unsold that it's not covering their costs.
What's a buyer premium?
Buyer premium is the percentage that you need to add on the Hammer result. So for example, if a painting is sold 100K Hammer, the buyer is not going to pay 100K. He's going to pay 100K plus the buyer premium, which is between 25 and 30%. So whenever a work is sold at 100K, the end buyer pays 130K.
And where does that extra 25-30% go?
To the pocket of the auction house.
Okay.
That's how they make money.
Okay.
But now, and back then it was 0% seller fees and only fees on the buyer premium. But nowadays, if a painting is still sold 100K, the seller doesn't get 100K. He gets between 90 and 95. So they take 5% to 10% on the seller side and 25 to 30% on the buyer side.
And even with those fees as a buyer,
they are still not covering because most of the lots are not sold or not paid.
Wow.
That's why they're increasing.
Buyers don't pay?
I've seen that. I've experienced that. You have like a lot of people who buy at auction, but they eventually end up not buying.
I've heard that from galleries, but also at auction.
Also at auctions. They try to take measures with lawyer letters and stuff, but it really doesn't scare anyone.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you see that situation changing in the near future?
It has to change, or at least auction houses should inform on their website that the work hasn't been paid. Let me explain you why. Let's say you own a pile of works from an artist that we're gonna call A. You have like 10 paintings, and you wanna like buy frenzy on one work, and you're gonna go up to a crazy price. That's gonna be world record, so people talk about it. So it crushed the estimate. So everyone's like, okay, this artist is really killing it, and maybe I should buy one. I'm gonna lose the momentum. It's gonna create FOMO. This guy is not gonna pay. He created a fake company in Asia, for example, and he put a manager that's gonna be an unknown guy that took a check for that. The painting gets crazy result. There is press about it. Everyone talks about it. There are posts on Instagram. There are story on Instagram. World record. Blah blah blah. And then the buyer doesn't pay. His company gets blacklisted under the name of the beneficial owner. That's an unknown person. But then what? Everyone thinks that it's sold at that price because auction houses are not gonna write that it wasn't paid for. Wow. And the stash of the guy just raised and went up on those new levels as a comparison.
And that happens a lot.
That happens, not a lot, but that happens. And you cannot tell how frequently it happens because it's not transparent, and auction houses don't tell when it's not paid except to the owner of the property.
Do auction houses keep it secret for their own interest or also in the interest of the artist?
They keep it secret for their own reason, their own interest, because, for example, let's say Christie's has 10% of work that are not paid. If you're a seller of a work and you know those percentages, do you want to trust more Christie's or Phillips or Sotheby's based on that? Because you think that they're not gonna be able to sell your work, and they're not gonna be good at selling your work or collecting the money. So they don't want people to know that some lots that they sold were not paid, because their only objective is to consign more and more high-end artworks to keep those 25% of those high-end. So they're not going to say it. And as an owner, you also don't want to say it because it's kind of like, I don't know, you go from being extremely happy to crazily disappointed because you lost 2 months plus 6 months of consignment, plus you still have the artwork. And also the conclusion of that is that the artwork is now burned, because an unsold artwork isn't as exciting for a new collector to purchase.
Because people find out, right? Even if it's not communicated officially by the auction house, people talk.
People talk. You get to see the work that's going to come in your WhatsApp. Like, why is it available again? It was just sold a few months ago. You understand that it wasn't paid for.
Yeah.
I get offered works by owners who are like, okay, hey, Raph, do you want to pay like 70% of what it sold? I need quick money. Buyer didn't pay. I give you a deal.
Well, that's interesting because, I mean, it's not super liquid as an asset class.
This
right?
is the most illiquid asset class on earth. People don't understand that. Because first of the logistic, like it's not as easy as buying stocks or crypto or watches. Even watches logistic is a bit complex, but like a painting needs to be built with a crate and then needs to be shipped at a high end cost. And then you need to store it and you need to hang it on the wall, and every step costs a ton, and sometimes more than the price of the painting itself. So it's super liquid. And then what are your ways to collect the money? You cannot go on eBay. Those stuff don't go on eBay, unfortunately, because, for example, I collect Pokemon, and Pokemon is extremely liquid because there are a ton of marketplace where you can list it. Well, art, you cannot list it anywhere. You have to find dealers, but nowadays dealers, they are like, it's kind of complex to do deals. You have more sharks in the water than fish, so everyone sends the same paintings at different prices because the layer commission is different.
Yeah.
So you have to go to auctions, but whenever you go to auction, they're going to take your works for like in 6 months sale. They need time to make the pictures, receive it, do the condition report, put it in the catalog. So if you're in September and you want money now, you don't have any solution.
Yeah.
You cannot put the story on Instagram like, I want to sell that, like if you're selling an IKEA couch.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So it's super liquid.
And you mentioned dealers. Is that a viable option, going through a dealer? Because some seem to have not great reputations.
It's tricky. Honestly, it's tricky because you don't know if the dealer is direct to the buyer or the seller. And since you don't know, it could be a ton of layers. And sometimes I've seen paintings that have been paid 100, but the final owner got only 50 because like there were, I don't know, 5 people who took 10 in the middle.
Yeah.
You don't know.
And
You
you
never
don't
know. You cannot know. You get invoiced by someone, you send to someone, but what's happening behind, you don't know. And unless the guy posts on Instagram, but it rarely happens.
Wow. So it's very, very opaque.
Everything is opaque. That's a non-regulated market.
Something I wanted to ask you is, do you always buy via gallery, or would you also sometimes just go straight to the source, buy from the studio?
I don't buy from the studio anymore for 2 reasons. First of all, gallery find out. So if you try to go to the studio and the artist has a relationship with the gallery, is going to tell them, oh,
no, I mean,
these
more,
guys sent me a message, and then the gallery is going to say like, you tried to bypass me, so I'm not going to have a good relationship with you. And since relationship is the key, you don't want to do that. That's the first reason why I'm not doing it. Second of all, most of the artists have been trained by the gallery now not to sell directly.
Yeah.
Because they'd rather say no to me than losing the relationship with their only person that's paying them every month, the gallery. And the third reason is that now I buy artists that are a little bit more established because it's a bit too hard for me to purchase every new artist that I'm seeing on Instagram because it's going to be too much. I see 10 artists per day. So if they don't have a gallery yet and they're going to sell me through the studio, it means that their career is like literally too young. And I'm not going to do it unless I have a major visual crush. But it didn't happen over the past 6 months, for example.
Yeah, that was more my question. In the case of an artist who isn't represented yet by a gallery, would you consider buying them? Or is it, of course, it's an encouraging sign once they are part of a program. But for you personally, are there situations or artists that you would buy directly from them because they don't have a gallery yet?
But I'm going to ask the question in the opposite. Why don't they have a gallery if their work is so exceptional?
Yeah.
It's like, if the guy is like 18 and he just graduated, yes, I'm going to buy. The guy is 35 and he's been around for like decades and he still doesn't have a gallery. It means something. And like, if he didn't have a gallery for the past 15 years, I don't understand why he would have a gallery in the next 15 years if he didn't change anything. Those are the kind of questions you have to ask yourself just for one reason. You don't have an unlimited budget and you have to be careful and cautious on what you buy.
A couple of years ago, you mentioned, and we talked about that earlier, that there was too much demand and not enough artworks in the market. So that's shifted now.
Yeah, the opposite.
So what are the challenges, the main challenges collectors need to contend with nowadays?
That's what I told you, is that do you really want that artist? Because like everything's mostly available except 10 names, but those 10 names you forget about it because either the fight is too hard, the battle is too hard, either it's too expensive. But you ask yourself, okay, those 5 artists, I wanted them. Now they're available. Now they're priced at that. What's the price at auction? Is it cheaper? Can I afford the 5 of them? Is it relevant for me to have the 5 of them? Or like, should I select one that's standing out? For which reason? The career, the style, the prices, whatever. And it depends. Everyone has its like own preferences. To me, it's always going to be the fame and the respect of owning that artist. I think I've always wanted to have names that are put in great collections and that's going to create respect. At the beginning, I wanted that. And then I found out that it's better not to have a Picasso than a bad Picasso. But for that, you need to make the mistakes. Otherwise, you don't learn. So I was like, okay, I would love to have a Picasso one day. I would love to have Antony Gormley one day. But what's the point of paying 200K for a small work of paper that's not representative, that has the name of someone else on it, that's too small, that's his bad period, that's his bad style? Just to own a Picasso, no one's going to respect you. They're going to respect you more for not having it than having a bad work from the artist. That's what I learned. And it took me a decade to understand that.
Wow.
So, for example, and those things, when you accumulate them, it creates a Bible of collecting. But every collector has a different Bible. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
My Bible is not the same as another collector Bible. And that's why no one can tell you what to do in the art world. And when I started, a lot of people told me what to do and told me, Raph, you cannot love this kawaii style next to this condo. It doesn't make sense. Like, style is not that. Style is high-end stuff. No. If you like that and you like that, you do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And if the fact that you had the kawaii style blocked you from buying this high-end style back then because the gallery didn't want, you can just tell yourself one thing. With passions, you're going to get it, because those galleries in 3 years, when it's going to be a crisis, they're going to crave for your money, and they won't care at all that all around there is kawaii and sneakers and whatever. They hate it. Money is always going to be king in this world.
That's interesting. So we're saying that galleries would consider not letting you buy from them because of
It happened to
you
me.
have like a reputation.
It happened to me because galleries care about one thing. When the market is up and they know they're going to sell everything, their main concern is the placement. They're going to have 10 paintings for 50 collectors.
The placement meaning who's going to buy.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're going to have 10 paintings for 50 collectors. You get the chance of choosing who's going to be the 10 lucky ones. And you're going to take what? The higher end collectors, the one that are going to be famous, the one that are going to have an institution, the one that are going to be so wealthy that they're going to keep buying from you and you want them as a client. So it's going to, like 40 collectors are going to be left out because they're not rich enough, not powerful enough. They don't have a bigger, like a big collection enough. So that's where you understand that you need leverage to be able to buy stuff that's in demand. Back in the days, when I had the time and the strength for it, I was taking those battles, going to the openings, trying to get friends with those galleries, trying to give them something in order for them to sell me. And it doesn't mean money. For example, I know that I introduced a lot of artists, promising artists, to galleries in order to create a relationship where they were like, okay, maybe I can sell one to Raph because he's going to help me with gossips in the art world, finding new artists, getting to that fair, getting to that dinner, promoting the artist on his Instagram, whatever. You try to get leverage. The best leverage is money. But when you don't have that, the second best leverage is institutions. And when you don't have that, you need to find something, in order to be respected, considered. And that's tricky, but that's the whole game. That's the beauty of it also.
Mm. I mean, I can see why you quit and went full time, because it's a full-time job.
It's a chessboard every day.
Yeah. I want to go back to your taste a little bit, to the years where you did a lot of research and learning. Were there any particular movements that influenced your collecting, or still today?
Yeah, you've seen my house. You've seen that 99.9% of my house is figurative, distorted figurative. I don't know. I love fantasy. I love video games. I love dreams. I love escaping my reality. And I think those paintings are the best way to escape the reality, because I get projected into the artist's dream, world, life, career, dimension, just by staring at the painting. So you're going to always see something that's going to be able to make me escape from my reality. Not that I don't love my reality, but like I see it as a portal, as a game. So I love to have that. I also told you that I was open-minded, that I was listening to people that would tell me, Raph, you need to have that, or you need to love that. I've tried with abstraction, and honestly, I've tried my best, and it's tricky. I won't say that I hate all abstraction. There are some abstract artists I would love to live with, like Jadé or other artists like that. But do I love them because they're expensive and famous? Maybe. If you give me a Jadé that's going to be worth 0 because Jadé is unknown, will I love it? I cannot tell you. I'm going to be honest, I cannot tell you. For example, I can say that I don't like Joan Mitchell, even if she's worth hundreds of millions. It doesn't create anything to me. No goosebumps, no feeling, nothing.
So you've
maybe it's because I'm not trained enough, or maybe I'm too young. I'm going to be humble there. Maybe it's that. But at the moment, it doesn't move me.
It sounds like it's just not your taste.
It's not my taste, but it's always like a good collector has everything.
Yeah.
You will see all the collection. It's not always the same. They have sculptures, they have bronze, they have like, I don't know. Big collectors have everything.
Because I read somewhere that you were keen to get more into abstract art.
I've tried, but you can see that I didn't. Naotaka Hiro is a good example. This is like kind of abstraction, but you can see hands, you can see eyes, you can see feathers, you can see shades.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not really abstraction.
Yeah.
That's it's even better because it's even a bigger dream, and that can help me make my own decision and say, this is eyes, this is feather, and that's the way I want to see it.
We talked a little bit about Art Basel Paris earlier that's coming up. What are the events, art world gatherings that matter the most to you as a collector, and why?
I will always love the first hours of the VIP opening of the fairs because everyone's there, gathered in
Any fairs?
Basel.
Yeah.
Basel, Miami, Basel, Paris. So those first hours are really the gathering for everyone, where everyone gives the gossip, the updates, and you see also who's here and who's not here. And it's really amazing to see that the faces that were there during the peak of hype sometimes are not there because now it's dead. So you understand that they were only there for the money and maybe not here for the art. To me, it's a mix of everything. I go because I want to meet my friends. I want to understand what happened in their life for the past year. Did they purchase anything? Did they sell anything? How do they see the market coming in the few years? And it's those people have become friends. So we go to a restaurant together and then we debrief about the art world and we give gossip. Do you know this guy sold at auction, but it was not paid? And that's where you learn if it was paid or not paid, or if it was a fake auction or not a fake auction. And if 5 people scattered around the world are at the fair and tell you that they purchased this artist without any reason that all of those 5 should purchase this artist, that's where you put it in your notes in the iPhone, and you put the name because you want to dig about it, and you're like, why those 5 influential collectors purchase the same name? And that's where if you are well connected to good collectors and you talk to them on a frequently basis and the same name pops out, sometimes you just buy. Because no explanation, but those people know what they do. You have to love it at least a bit. I never purchased in my life a work that I was visually hating. It never happened, just for financial reasons. Never, ever, ever. It never happened. I always loved at least a bit the work, enough to live with it.
Do you buy at art fairs too?
Honestly, if stuff is available at the art fair, it means that I can find a better deal somewhere else.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of the time you go to these fairs and everything's sold already.
Either it's already sold, either it's all available. But for both reasons, there is no reason I should buy it there. The only time I bought at fair were I was receiving the PDF before and there was an opportunity to buy and the work was at the fair. But like, I never walked into the fair and was like, oh, I love this work, I should buy it. Not my style.
Okay.
I'm more thinking person. Unless like stars align, like I want a Nevelson. There's going to be a fair with a back room with a small Nevelson. That's going to be priced around auction results. And it's in France, so I can take it without shipping and without VAT addition. Okay, stars aligned. I'm going to buy it. But otherwise, no. But if I love something, like I discover an artist that's amazing, and I see it in person that it has texture, reflection, whatever, I'm not going to buy it, but I'm going to note to study more because it's great. How to study more? You type the name on Instagram, you see the resume, you see the previous works. Does the style of the artist change drastically and like evolve into something new? That's something I hate because I purchased this artist that's called Anna Park. I love her so much. But within 5 years, she produced 5 different styles and you couldn't even tell that each style is done by the same artist. And I hate that you lose identification into one artist. I need at least something to say, oh, I can see the pencil. It's her. It has to be her. Even if the whole thing has changed, it's her.
Yeah. Why is that important to you?
Because, for example, if you were to buy a Basquiat today, do you want a crown? Yes. Do you want a skull? Probably. If you're going to buy a Picasso, do you want Cubism?
High chance, yes.
Yeah. If I give you a Picasso that's an abstract Picasso, are you going to spend money on it?
Probably not that
Probably
price
not.
point.
So people love to buy and love to live with something that's going to be instantly recognizable. Even if you don't know the artist, you have to say, oh, I've seen the same kind of stuff in this house. Isn't the name that? Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, I understand. I recognize the style. That's why buying two emerging artists that are like in constant evolution is also tricky because they're going to change styles so much until they find their perfect style. That's it. For example, Josh Smith is an amazing painter, but most of people who collect Josh Smith, they either want palm trees or reapers. The poor guy was stuck into both things.
Yeah.
Nowadays, those two styles are selling well, even at auction. But whenever there's new paintings of that, no one wants.
That's tricky for the artist, though, right?
That's super tricky for the artist because they're stuck into one thing.
Yeah.
But it's also their job to find a solution. Like Kondo started with not Cubism, but you could tell that there was a beginning of Cubism into his early paintings because you could see the teeth and you could see the eyes that were looking in opposite direction and you could see like distorted, whatever. And then he went into Cubism. But you can even, I give you 2 Kondo paintings that are scattered from 20 years from one to another, you can tell it's the same artist. When it's impossible to do, it's super tricky.
Do you think that says something also about the artist's expression when they're able to sort of find that recognizable style right away and then stick with it? Or quite on the contrary, it limits their ability to experiment?
I can't blame the artist at all. Artists are hard to understand and too complex. I've quit understanding them, and that's the beauty of it. I cannot blame the guy that's going to be an artist and that's going to take 20 years to find the style where he's the most comfortable.
Yeah.
I cannot blame him. And like, it happens a lot. No one finds his style at the very beginning, and the career of 40 years is long, especially now that everything goes way quicker. 40 years is like equals 80 years. You can have like 20 styles, you can have 3D, you can have sculptures, you can have like iPad, you can have digital art, you can have so much stuff that's gonna open the new possibilities of creating new art or like combining your stuff with neon, with TV, with video projection, with whatever. So I cannot blame them. I'm just saying that as a collector, I've seen that there is a pattern. You want to have A+ works of the artist. How do you define A+ works? That's easy. Instantly recognizable, plus pleasant for the eye. Period.
As someone who came from outside the art worlds into this full time, what's something you wish you had known right from the start?
Honestly, I'm going to say nothing. I'm happy about the mistakes I did. If I knew everything from the very beginning, I probably wouldn't have anything on my walls. I would have sold the top. I would have quit the thing. I would have never met someone. I loved every second of it. The mistakes, the good things, the bad things, the connections, whatever. I did a lot of mistakes. And I'm happy I did them because I'm not going to repeat them again. And that's cool.
Yeah.
That's fine to me. Growing is essential, and you can only grow by making those mistakes. So if you had give me a tip back then that would have changed that journey or make it shorter or make it less exciting, I would have said, don't give me the tip.
Yeah. You have to learn by making mistakes.
Yeah. I see those people. I have a lot of friends who are like, Raph, can you tell me what to buy? You always buy. Can you tell me what? I never had a friend purchase a painting because I gave him the recommendation. My own brother didn't purchase anything because I told him to. It's extremely personal taste, and other people's money is tricky. So I'd rather stay out and say, I can tell you where to go. I can send you PDFs and you tell me what you love and you tell me what you want. But I'm not going to be able to tell you should buy that. That's extremely personal.
Yeah, I agree with that. On the financial advice side, when you're getting started as a new collector, how do you recommend navigating that? Obviously, you start at lower price points, and you're very open about also selling works to acquire new ones. Is it helpful to have a budget? Do you personally have one? How did you start navigating?
So at the beginning, I was like trying to save some money, but like I had a wife, I wanted to buy a house. I didn't have children back then, so I was like more naive. And then I started purchasing and then selling, and then I was like having more money to purchase, but I forgot that I had tax to pay. So after a few years, I wanted to do everything clean. So I called an accountant and I created my company, Rough Art Collection, that explained me how to do it, and that sometimes it's better not to sell than selling and pay more in taxes. There are tricks with financial stuff, but I don't do that, like buying, donating, like writing off. We don't have that in France a lot. So now I'm very cautious with my cash. I know that market is not the way it used to be, and paintings are illiquid. So I'm not going to take any risk, and I'm just going to be careful. And like everyone should define a percentage of art they should own, value speaking, compared to their net worth. But I would tell every painting you're purchasing, you should tell yourself that it's dead money and that you lost that money. Because nowadays it has more chance to go either back to zero or be crazy liquid than selling it really well quickly. So see it as dead money. If you have a good surprise, it's cool. But don't because you're going to stress out. Every time there's going to be an auction and your artist that you own isn't sold or like did bad results, you're going to freak out.
Yeah, no, I agree. Shouldn't consider the investment aspect to begin with.
I'm not going to say it's like, I cannot tell you not to see that, since myself, I sold a lot of paintings and made money on a lot of paintings.
Yeah.
So I cannot tell you that not to see that. But every time I purchased the paintings, I didn't have the objective of what I wanted to make, and that if I wanted to make money. And my better and biggest sales came from the cheaper purchase from back in the 2016, where I was naive and just purchasing because I love the art.
Oh, really?
Where I lost the most were the most expensive painting I purchased. 30K, 40K, 50K. These are the paintings where I lost the most of money.
Interesting.
Yeah.
One more question before final ones. So thinking back to when you started, what's the one piece of advice that you would give an aspiring collector who, isn't intimidated by that world?
Don't be. First of all, they can always send me a message, and I would love to help them navigate this crazy, complex art world, because people helped me back then when I was needing help. Talk to people, go to museums, train your eye, go to galleries, go to fairs. It's free. So, I mean, It's free. It's beautiful. You meet people. You get into an exclusive, crazy niche world. You're going to meet great people. And you can do that without buying a single painting. You can buy after. You
So don't rush
just need
into
to
buying.
don't rush to buy, but also don't, like, some paintings, if I had waited like even a day more, I would have never get them. And like my whole journey would have been different. So don't sleep too much. Don't overthink, but don't rush the purchase. Just go and speak to people. Like, don't people live in big cities. There are museums everywhere. There are galleries everywhere. Just live the art, experience the art, hang the art, buy 200 euro prints on eBay, frame it, put it on your wall, just to understand what it is to live with art. And then you can go to next step.
Awesome. Cool. Final questions. What's the last artwork you purchased?
I think this is probably the Brice Guilbert that I bought at auction at Philips, the big Fournaise black.
How would you describe your collection in one word?
Figurative, colorful, influential. Every painting helped me meeting someone great. So I don't see just the painting. I see the people around, floating around the painting.
That's amazing. That's really cool. Who's one artist, it's going to be hard to choose, one artist you're excited about, but that you haven't acquired yet?
Either Houseago, either Louise Nevelson.
It's on your wish list.
It's on my wish list. These are blue chip artists, dead and not dead, represented by great galleries, some great deals at auctions, names I would have never dreamt of having back then that now are really affordable. So yeah, it's probably those two.
Do you have them on your radar as you know that pieces might become available?
Since it's going to be at auction, I'm just navigating through auction catalogs every time one gets out. And I see there is a work, and like also location is really important because logistics. For example, Houseago makes face masks in bronze that weigh more than 300 kilos.
Wow.
So there is, even if I get a crazy deal on an auction in Hong Kong or in Los Angeles, shipping is going to cost me twice. So I'm not going to bid on those. So it has to be located in Europe. Yeah. Also, if it's an edition, the VAT is 20% in France. When it's an original, it's only 5%. So I'd rather pay more for a unique work than paying less on an edition because of that VAT stuff. So it's a lot of things to take into account. Yeah.
Okay. And who's a collector that you look up to?
Oh, that's impossible to answer. Honestly, that's impossible to answer. And there are a lot of great collectors, to be honest. So I'm not going to be able to put names, but it's a combination of those. I get influenced a lot by Instagram collections. But whenever I see a collection, I never love it 100%. So it's a mix of a lot of collectors. Like I would love to have this guy painting and this guy painting and this guy living room, but this guy backyard. Like it's a combination of stuff.
Yeah, really reflect your own.
Yeah. It's so personal that it has to be a combination. A collection is like the visualization of someone's soul. Like, how can I want to have the same when this guy is not me? So here you see me out there on paintings, so you can define me thanks to the paintings that are on the wall. So I cannot say like I want this guy collection because it's him, it's not me.
That's a beautiful ending.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Raphael. I'm Antonia, and this was The Collector's Corner. If you enjoyed this episode, please share, subscribe, and follow. I would love to hear from you. You can reach me on social media or on the podcast website, thecollectorscornerpodcast.com. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.